Well, if I'm talking about a movie, it is most likely a bad movie, and this is a bad movie. Plus, yes, I finally did see Dune Part 2, but who needs a review of it, because everyone said exactly what I've said. So, anyway, bad movie time. This is a terrible horror film, which is, god damn it. It's like we're never gonna beat the allegations that horror is, like, terrible and not fun and interesting and thought provoking or anything when you put out shit like this. So, like I said, this is a movie called Imaginary, and this movie is a conglomerate, an amalgamation of a lot of other movies put into this movie for an hour and 44 minutes, which, in all honesty, this should have been 30 minutes max. I've said it in the past where, like, some things should stay short form, should be like it's a short, you know, it's like the guy who directed the Shazam movies. Like, he does horror, which is so funny because then they had him do Shazam. But I think after the Shazam 2 came out, he was still like putting out like mini horror things on his like YouTube, and like, bless me, Spurpage. It's great. If some of it just works in like a 5-minute format, a 10-minute format. Some things don't work well when you expand upon it, because then like the gimmick, the trope, the cliche, whatever you want to call it, the thing, just can't last. I'm pulling taffy. I don't know how to word properly. I spent an entire weekend around a lot of fucking goth people for a long time, so my brain is mush, right? I was trying to sell my bloody fetuses to goth people, and they were not really having it, so there's that. Anyway, that vlog's gonna come out soon. So yeah, it's about a woman. She, in the movie, she's married to Tom Paine, which is so funny because the guy is there for like the beginning of the movie and then the end of it. And then like there's his paycheck. He's like not there in the he's a musician, so he went on tour and then all hell broke loose. Like, wow, timing. And this woman, she, like, she moves back into her childhood home. And so it's a horror movie, so you're like, oh god, what skeletons are in the closet, And of course, like, in like the front lawn, there's like this old white woman staring up at the window, and you're like, yeah, that's not sus at all, that's not weird, that's not uncomfortable, because the main character is a black woman, I have to feel like I have to mention that only because, people of color, especially black people in horror, don't really, have good endings, whatchamacallit. So I'm already like, oh god, and it's like, oh well, she wanted to buy the home, but like you got it instead. And it's like, whoa, chill. And then the old lady's like, I used to babysit you, and she's like, I guess. And she's like, well, you were really small. Alright. So, like, her kid from her, I guess, stepkid. So she has 2 stepkids, and so there's like the teenager, and then like how old is that kid? Like 7? I don't know how old children are. But yeah, there's a teenager and then like a fucking kid, And of course the teenager is fucking annoying because it's a teenager, so why wouldn't a teenager be fucking annoying, right? Of course the kid is also in a different type of annoying because it's a little kid. Anyway, so the little kid like finds like a teddy bear, and it's like, oh, this is, Chauncey. That's a name a child in this day and age knows. Chauncey. I don't. That's like the first like no, But I found it funny that there's no way anyone was like, well, that's strange. How does a child in this day and age know the name Chauncey? What media is this getting Chauncey? Anyway, so she's like, this is Chauncey, blah, blah, blah. And then, she's talking to Chauncey. It's her imaginary friend. It's okay, kids, da, da, da. Then always saying that Chauncey's always hungry. And like, oh my god, blah, blah. And then, then things start getting weird because that's how these movies are, and things get weird, And then, and it's like, and it's so stupid because it's like, I was sitting there. I was watching the movie like this. I was watching the movie like this, just like literally one eye, the other one just like face palming, and just doing a lot of like the entire time. I did not take a break at any point because it was one of those movies where it wasn't like, okay, it's bad, I need to take a break to clear my head so I can fully grasp the movie. I was like, no, 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 we are watching this. We are fucking watching this all the way fucking through, And so then, like, weird stuff starts happening, and it's like, oh my god, it's Chauncey, Chauncey, Chauncey. It's like that movie, I forgot the name of it. It's like with De Niro and Dakota Fanning, and she's like, it's Charlie, and it's like, oh my god, turns out it's De Niro the whole time. Oh my god, spoiler, it really doesn't matter. That movie was very predictable. And so you're like, okay, that's strange. Anyway, so they bring the child to a therapist because they're like, well, like, I mean, that's smart of them, to be like, there's something up with the kid. They bring the kid to a therapist, and the therapist, like, records sessions, which is fine, you do. Especially if it's something like that, you might want to discuss with the parents because it's just one-on-one between the doctor and the kid is being like, oh, this is Chauncey, and da-da-da. And then, like, so it turns out, like, there is no teddy bear. There is no teddy bear. She is talking to no one because the woman shows the footage of her like, it's like, I'm holding a bear and I'm putting it down, and the mom is like, what do you mean? I thought I saw a bear. And there's one time where she's like having tea time or something with the bear, and the mom like records it. She looks back on her phone and sees that, oh, allergies, sees that the daughter is like talking to no one because there's like an empty scene. She's like, one of like those moments in a horror film that normally are supposed to get the audience being like, that kind of moment. But instead, it doesn't make you do that. It's just the person in the movie doing that, and you just being like, wow, spoopy, like, and at no point was I like, oh my god. I was like, oh, of course. And then, like, the little girl, when she was in the therapist session, she would speak in like two different voices. She'd be like, oh my god, Chauncey. And then then it's like, I'm Chauncey, or something like that. And like the video revealed it that it was like the daughter doing the voice the whole time. And it was just, I couldn't help but crack up when the therapist was like talking to mom about it and was saying like, there's like, you know what it is, right? Instead of being like, she has an imaginary friend and she's doing the voice, so it's in their mind because they're a kid, they're having a conversation. So it's not just like, do you want to go to the park today? Yeah, I love the park too. Like that kind of, Dora the Explorer kind of like thing. But instead it's like, do you want to go to the park today? Yeah, I love the park. That kind of shit. So you're like, yeah, of course. But instead, the therapist tells the mom, she was like, it's ventriloquism. And like the most ventriloquism. And well, she also had an accent, so it kind of made it like, ooh. And then I'm like, oh my god, I thought my child was possessed. Turns out it's worse. It's Jeff Dunham. Damn, that spit came right out and landed right on my cue. And Jeff Dunham. Yeah, so what's worse than you thinking there's something wrong with your kid, them wanting to be a ventriloquist, And oh my god, I was just like, I don't know. So, like, then the movie, like, it was like, the Chauncey gives this girl, like, a list of tasks to do. Like she had, like, fly tape, and she was just picking flies off and putting in a jar. I don't know. I don't think children at that age would listen to, Alice in Chains, but sure, start them early. They are a very good band, And it was just like, okay. And then, like, it was, like, stuff like that. It's, like, things that are creepy. The mom had taken a picture of the list, because obviously, that would be a convenient thing for, later in the movie. So then it was, like, the white lady comes by, and she was just kind of like, I want to help, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, because I used to babysit you and all this stuff, like, I know, like, we know how to fix it or whatever shit. I'm probably misremembering this, because I literally just watched it last night, but it's one of those movies, and I know, besides how bad it is and talking about it, it's like if I don't, like, make a video of it or have some kind of record of me talking about it by the end of the year, and I make my list and I go, what the fuck is this movie imaginary, and what the fuck is this 1 star, and then I have to go into the whole thing where I have to explain to Masami about it, and then I go, I don't know, it's really bad, and then Masami goes, okay, fine, and then we move on, but, like, this is gold, because it gets so bad. And again, an hour and 44, not an hour and a half. They had to tack on that extra like 14 minutes, even though it should have been like 89. You know, there's some shitty horror films that are like 88 minutes. You don't have to hit the 90-minute mark. 75 minutes. God, there was a movie years ago I watched that was 70 something minutes long, and that's all. That's including the credits, and it was just and it felt like Snyder cut. That, you know, like just because the movie is short doesn't mean it's short at times. Like I said, I finally watched Dune Part 2, and that did not feel long. This probably felt what Dune Part 2 lengthwise should have felt like. It was just like, it's not ending, it's not ending. Anyway, so the old white lady's like, I'm gonna help and tell you about my white lady powers, you know, on how I'll just call the cops on anyone that looks like you, or else no. So, and so she's like, I remember when you were little. She's like, when you were little, your imaginary friend was named Chauncey. Ah! What? I can't believe it! Well, here's the thing. I didn't care by then. And also, it's not spooky. It's not like, oh my god, that's where a small child, you know, had learned about a name like Chauncey. Like, I don't. She just called like it like Doug or something, Steve, Chauncey. Like, damn, my accent hit hard. Like Chauncey. His name is Chauncey. I don't know what that name is. I know a guy named James and like Jimmy and Vinny and Tony, you know. Chauncey. Anyway, I've got a lot of cigarettes and I'm just gonna smoke from here as well. Alright, I'll stop. Anyway, allergies. It's spring. So, the old white lady is oh, like I forgot how they figure out that they have to finish the list, like finish the task that Chauncey gives. So then they can like, because like the little girl disappears because she like does the task. Like she does the task and then she like disappears into like the nether realm. I don't fucking remember. It doesn't matter. It's horrible. So then they finish the list, which conveniently the woman had on her phone, and so they can save the kid, of course, right? So they go and they finish the list, and then it's like fucking Pan's Labyrinth and Beetlejuice. They fucking draw a door on the fucking wall, you know, but this one was drawn like really small because remember, she's a kid and you were a kid once, and like, you know, Pan's Labyrinth, that person was a kid, whereas, you know, and like obviously Beetlejuice, it was a full fuck door and then like a doorknob, you know. But yeah, of course, just like those movies, they draw a door and then it glows and then the thing opens and then you're in there and it's like Beetlejuice because then the hallways are checkered pattern and all kind of funky like that, you know. And then they have like different doors, like where does it go? Oh my god, is it the hallway in the Matrix where you're like, all the doors, where's it go? Where's the key maker? You know. And then it's like one hallway wasn't like all wibbly wobbly, and it was just like a long, like obviously green screen, and you could kind of tell if you looked at it a little longer, where they like, you know, where they like took the image and then copy paste it to like fit into the long hallway, and then like that looked like it was trying to have like the Hellraiser thing, like when they had that we were like, what's happening, you know, like as if it would be good like Hellraiser, you know. And it's like, oh my god, where do we go, blah blah blah. But it's like they get in there and then like the old white lady's like, ha ha ha, I've betrayed you for reasons or whatever, like I will blah blah blah. And I was just like, wow, I couldn't have seen that coming. I really need a WD-40 this chair. You know. And then it's just like they're like, we've got to fight the thing. Yeah, so also the woman has like this thing in her mind where like it's a spider that is like something that she has dreams of and nightmares and all that stuff, which I understand. Spiders are scary. I am not a fan myself. It's not, you know, it's very much a, you know, kind of response from me as well. I hope I don't have dreams about that, or nightmares, what do you call it? So then, like, a thing comes, and I was just like, alright, like, it made me, like, slightly uncomfortable, but the CGI was so bad that I was just kind of like, I don't know to be like, just, it was just kind of like, oh, alright, you know? Whatchamacallit. So, you're like, we gotta fight for your right to party. Anyway, so they're like, oh, we did the thing. I don't know. Like, they pretty much want to, like, keep the woman and all that stuff, and then, like, don't look directly into the spider's eyes because then, like, a montage of your life flashes before its eyes. So apparently just two eyes. There's not a lot of eyes, just two eyes. And then your eyes also have, TV screens that play as well. And then you get under the spell. I don't know, who fucking cares. So they get out of it. They're like, wow, we escaped. And she goes to visit, like, I think it's her dad, who was like in a coma or something, or some shit. I don't know. There's certain things that my brain did not retain because this movie was so dumb that obviously I have lost the ability to remember most things. Like, who am I? I don't know. I went to work today. Did I wear pants? Not currently, So who knows? At least I remember to put on some eyebrows. So, um, anyway, so they like, yeah, it was like her dad or something, and like I think he's like either like a stroke victim or I don't know, but he's just like very much hospitalized. But like in the nether realm or something, like the dad's like the mortal enemy or something. I don't know. A lot of us do have our fathers as our mortal enemy, so I understand. But anyway, so then they're there, and then while they're in the hospital, it was pretty much like a reveal that like you didn't escape the netherworld. You're still in it with me, kind of moment. And it was like, oh my god, which like I knew it wasn't over yet because when something like that happens, and I freaking watch this shit from home, I can look at the fucking you know the progress bar and know how much time we have left, and it's like, oh yeah, it's not the end. It's they probably nah. Turns out, oh my god, the teenage daughter came in clutch and like busted up the shitty version of herself, and he's like, come along, and she's like, oh my god, I couldn't believe that I was still trapped in here this whole time. Like, yeah, you just seem to be really susceptible to dumb things, ma'am. I'm surprised your identity hasn't been stolen. I'm surprised like you haven't been like super skamazed with like draining your freaking bank account. You know what I mean? The fact that you're able to buy a home without any issues because you were like, I'll sign for volcano insurance. Like, Jesus Christ, ma'am. So they go, and then like they finally get out, and it's like, oh my god. And then the house, like, and they also grab the girl. Okay, so it's a true ending is the little girl. They grab the little girl, and then like, so the white lady, bye, So the three of them, they get out of the house, it's on fire, and they're like, burn, burn it. But like in this housing market, I was like, oh no, that house, they'll never afford to rebuild. You'll never afford to rebuild. Also, the whole point of like the evil thing brain shit was like to lure the woman back. Like, they didn't really want the daughter, but they, because she's a kid, they were like, how else? But I feel like even without the little kid, just because she still like has those like visions and nightmares of the spider thing and the childhood trauma over and over again, that like I feel like the fact that she moved back into her childhood home, you know what I mean, that they could have gotten her without having to do that, but fine, they're trying to pull the whole like a mother's love thing in horror that they try to do, like with like The Ring, where they're like, oh, mother's love, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, um but yeah, so they stand there, and of course, like, the house is on fire, but you immediately see like the cops and fire trucks. You're like, oh, they're gonna put it out. But of course, like, the roof is starting to cave in, and of course, I'm kind of like, it's still good, it's still good. Again, in this housing market, my shit is falling apart, and I'm like, I can't afford to fix things. No, fine. It's like the joke people make online. They're like, oh yeah, you can stay in this home for 30 days. But it's haunted. So I was like, what? Is there Wi-Fi? What? I get to be a homeowner for 30? Yeah, sign me up. It's like, yeah, let's do it. And fucking, so they're there, and then, like, it kind of quick cuts to what looks like the next day or later that day. The three of them are in, like, freaking blankets, and they're, like, at a hotel, like, check in, and the little girl sees, like, a bear, like, like, behind one of the, like, those, like, lobby chairs. And of course, she's like, huh? And starts walking closer because that's the smart thing to do. And then the teenager sees it, and then the mom sees it, and they're like, huh? And then, like, a little boy pops up, and she goes, oh, bah, 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 like, to the mom, and the mom's like, oh, silly, you're a child, And then they were like, do you want to find a different hotel? They're like, yeah, let's find a different hotel, It's kind of like, we're fine. As they're leaving, the little, like, the little boy's bear, I think, was wearing, like, but yeah, it was just like, oh, the bear, it's this, and that. And then it pans back to the bear, and I think its outfit changed because I think it was wearing blue. But then, like, Chauncey it has like a red sword. Again, who cares? It's terrible. The like, the visual, but it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. You know? It doesn't matter. It sucks. So then it's supposed to say, like, the evil was never, you know, overcame and did. Overcome and did. Oh my god, you overcome. Jesus Christ. It must have filled a cup. Anyway, like, I don't know. It's just so bad. And then it was like the movie ends and you're like, then it ended. Yay, I did it. Yeah, and it's like, guess I'll log this onto, you know, letterbox here. You know? You just do that, you're like, well, log in another gem, guys. Log in another gem, you know? But yeah, that was imaginary. I heard about this movie, and I heard it was really bad. But it's like, when, you know, a bunch of, like, normies are saying a movie is bad, I'm like, I mean, I'm the bitch who, like, watches some shit, you know? I watch the really bad stuff, you know? It's like, come on, man. And then oh, it's bad horror. I'm like, wow, bad horror? That was released, I think, like, a month or so, like, in March or something? Like, yeah. Allergies. Like, I mean, not saying that good horror only comes out in October, but come on. You know? Like, it's like not a January release, so it's not the worst. You know, it's also, yeah, it's also not independent. If it's an indie film and it kind of comes out in the middle of the, like, kind of in the, like, this part of the year, it's usually pretty good, or at least kind of odd. You know what I mean? But this is Bloomhouse, so you know, especially with that, you know it's not good. You know, like, was it Bloomhouse? There was a period with, like, the Sinister movies and something else where every time a Bloomhouse movie would come out and every time the movie would end and you'd be like, you know, like, oh, the bat is gone or something, or, like, you know, you see the cops coming and it's pretty much like the family look at each other and like, ah, and then they walk away and suddenly jump scare. Like, that's how they end. Like, every time it like ends with a jump scare. And anyway, yeah, so, you know, wipe my eyebrows off. Yeah, so you just knew it wasn't good. So it's it's not bad, like, frustrating bad, where I was like, oh my god. I mean, if it was frustrating bad, I probably would have written notes. It's just dumb, and not a good dumb. It's just kind of like, oh, of course. And then, yeah, what happened? And then that is, uh-huh. And then, oh no, oh, it's big surprise. You know, it was just kind of like, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Ooh, yeah, uh-huh, whoa, yeah, you know. I don't know. I feel like these are the movies that people think I ride or die for when I go, like, oh yeah, I watch every movie and I sometimes love super bad movies, but it's like, no, no. Now, wonder what, like, God, if Neil Breen made a horror film, because he mainly makes, like, sci-fi weird shit. I feel like Neil Breen needs to make some horror. I can't imagine what that budget's like. I mean, I'll work for it for free, Neil Breen. If you want to make a horror film, I would do some props for you. I will do some effects. I will work for free because that's amazing. You know, I rarely ever would say I would work for free, but Neil Breen, it would work for. God. Oh, this is gonna bite me in the ass at one point in my life. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, squeaky chair.